Hi everybody, welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be going over the books that I read in January. Now I know I didn't do a what I read in November or December video. It just completely passed my mind, but we have to get back into it for this new year. So I read 6 books in January, which I feel like is really good for me, and I am going to go ahead and pop up some stats here if you want to see my Storygraph stats, which if you're interested in Storygraph, I highly suggest downloading the app. It tracks like how many pages you read a day, all the different genres. I feel like it's a little bit more in-depth than Goodreads is, although I do still use Goodreads for, you know, my challenges and things like that. Storygraph is really great for these types of graphics. So it says I read 2,270 pages. My average rating for the month was a 3.58. My highest rated reads are there, as well as the average book length, the average time to finish, and the different genres. Plus at the bottom it shows how much I read each day, which I think is really fun as well. So starting us off strong in January, I was in the middle of a reading vlog, which I will link here and down below as well. I was reading some of the Goodreads choice books and I was really excited about them. So I was halfway through it and I read We Used to Live Here. This is by Marcus Klewer. I ended up giving this a 4-star, and I don't necessarily want to change my rating for this one, but if I really think about it, I think this is absolutely a 5-star book, and I'm changing my rating kind of after the fact, but this book is so good. There's a reason so many people have been talking about it. There's a reason it was a part of the Goodreads Choice Award. I don't want to give too much of the synopsis, but even if I do give too much, I still feel like there's so much you're not even going to know, which is crazy. So in this book, you're kind of following from Eve's perspective, and Eve and her partner just moved into this house. I'm assuming this one, and one night she's there by herself, like cooking dinner, whatever, what have you, and a man shows up with his family. It's like his wife and his 3 kids, and he's like, hey, I used to live here growing up. Is it okay if I show my family where I grew up? And Eve is very much so like, I don't want to, but she's such a pushover that she says okay, and because of that, so much happens. And I feel like when I heard that initially, that plot line from other booktubers or even just reading the synopsis, I was like, you know, you kind of get a vision in your head of what you think so much happens could be, but it's just absolutely beyond what you think. Like, it's just so much, like it's so much more than what you think. And after reading this book, I was very confused, but also in like the best way possible, because it's such an ambiguous ending and there's just so much that happens that I went to Reddit and I went down all the different theories, and I feel like that is almost like I put my rating in and then I went to Reddit, and I feel like that almost could have solidified my 5-star for me, because all the different theories just, they get you thinking. It's just, it was just so good. And from what I know, there is going to be more books in this kind of world, and I really love that. And then I also will say, after reading this, I would say even like 2 or 3 weeks after reading this, there's different bits in between each chapter, like different, like, you know, articles and things, like different mixed media, which is always fun in a thriller or a horror book to have mixed media. And I didn't realize that at the bottom of all of those, there's Morse code. So I went through every page and I typed in the Morse code translator, and I feel like that was also incredible. Loved it so much. I would give this a 5-star. I did give it a 4-star, and it's gonna unfortunately say a 4-star on my Goodreads, but I do feel like this is my first 5-star of the year, because I loved this one. If you're looking for short horror, this is amazing. There's a reason it's on the Goodreads Choice Awards. It's so good. Next for that same video, and last for that video, I read Betting on You by Lynn Painter. I love Lynn Painter's books. I have read Better Than the Movies, which is a 5-star read. I have read The Do-Over, which if you are looking for a Valentine's Day read next week, get The Do-Over. It's like a time loop on Valentine's Day. It's super cute. But I picked Betting on You since it was a part of the Goodreads Choice Awards, and ultimately I gave this a 4-star as well. It's not my favorite Lynn Painter, but it's Lynn Painter. It's classic, like, young adult, young high school romance that's just so cute and like fun to follow. We're following Bailey and Charlie, and in this book you do also get Charlie's perspective sometimes, which I really like. You didn't really get that with the other books, so I kind of like getting different point of views, but you're mostly following Bailey, and Bailey is moving to this new town at the very beginning because her parents are getting divorced, so she's moving in with her mom, and she meets Charlie on an airplane. He's also a part of a divorced family, so he's flying back to his house as well, and they do not hit it off. Like, they are not, like, they absolutely hate each other. And then they meet a couple years later, kind of, at like a movie theater. Like, it's kind of like a little bit of like they run into each other. They're like, oh, it's you. And then a year after that, they end up meeting again at the same workplace. They work at like kind of like an art, I don't know, I kind of imagined it as like a big theme park almost, but that's how I was imagining it. It's probably like an arcade or something. And they end up working together and they become very close friends while working together. They make different bets on different people, and there's a lot of like tropes in this that I absolutely adore. It's just, I don't know, the way that they end up together, because obviously it's a romance, they're gonna end up together. I really enjoyed, sometimes when it comes to romance I get nervous when it comes to the third act conflict, but I felt like this one was handled really well, and you kind of see it coming obviously, but it's just so cute, and I like their relationship a lot. And I really like Bailey as our female main character. She's just, I don't know, she just reminded me a lot of myself, and so I saw a lot of myself in her, and I really love this one. It is a bit of a chunker as far as like a young adult romance goes, but it was a 4-star and I did really enjoy it. One of my first anticipated reads of the year. I was so excited. This is Adrift in Currents Clean and Clear by Shauna McGuire. This is the 10th book in the Wayward Children series. It came out this January. I had it pre-ordered. I was so excited. I adore the Wayward Children series. They are these very short, like maybe 200, normally less than 200 page books, and they follow the wayward children. The wayward children are kids that are going through different things as, you know, like as adolescents. Different things are happening in their lives, and they all stumble upon a door. They go through a door and they're in this like magical world. All the magical worlds are very, very different, and for the most part they can't stay. They're kicked out for one reason or another, and because they come back to the real world and they're very much so not adjusted and they want to go back to their magical world, they end up at Eleanor West's wayward home, or Home for Wayward Children. And every other book you are either at the wayward home with all of these kids, getting to know all of them, or you learn a backstory. In this particular book we are learning about Nadja's backstory. We met Nadja very briefly in Beneath the Sugar Sky, which was either the 3rd or 4th book, and I just love getting backstories on people we don't really know for some reason. It's just so fun and interesting. So Nadja, she's a sweet angel baby. She is an orphan from Russia. She is missing an arm, and she is basically adopted by this this couple from America who kind of just adopt her for looks, kind of just adopt her to get in better with their church and with their community and their family. And they're trying to force her to do certain things, and she's just like, she's totally cool just being herself, like just doing her thing. She's missing her arm. They get her a prosthetic. She hates this prosthetic. She feels like she can't really function with it because she's so used to not having an arm. She doesn't understand why she needs to have this prosthetic. Like, she's fine. And she stumbles upon a door one day while looking for turtles. She's such a turtle girl, and it takes her to this underwater world, which is so cool. We've never been to like an underwater world before, and it was so interesting and fun to follow. And I felt so sad at times. This wasn't my favorite, but again, I love this series so much, and like this series means like so much to me that I just recommend it to everybody. Just read the first like 2 or 3 books, I think. I mean, they're short, you can get into them, but I ultimately gave this one a 4-star. Again, it wasn't my favorite, but I did enjoy hearing about Nadja's backstory, and I don't know, I'm gonna continue to read this series for the rest of my life, and I'll probably reread it at some point too, because why not? Next, I read Hellbent. This is by Leigh Bardugo. I read Ninth House like almost 2 years ago, and I have had Hellbent because I was waiting for it to come out in paperback, but I've had it for like a year, and I've just been sitting and waiting and finally read it, and I'm so grateful that I did. I gave it 3 stars. I feel the same way about Hellbent that I felt about Ninth House. So this is very dark academia. You're following Alex Stern, who is going to Yale, and she's a part of this like secret society called Leith, or yeah, I guess Leith, but she is a part of the Ninth House, where she has to kind of like be the moderator for all of the secret societies and like magic and dark magic that they're doing. And I really like our main character. I enjoyed Ninth House, but I had the same problems with this book that I had with Ninth House, which is really annoying, where the first like 100 or so pages I was so confused. I had no idea what was going on, but then finally once it all kind of clicked, it was so good, and I had such a great time with it. Granted, I probably wouldn't have had that experience had I read this immediately after Ninth House, but alas, I did not, and that is my own fault. I do really like this series. I thought it was just going to be a duology, but apparently, I mean, we ended on a cliffhanger, so apparently there's going to be more. The book was published in 2023, so I don't know if there's been any information on a 3rd book. If you know, let me know. I'll probably pick it up because, again, the cliffhanger was so good and I was really enjoying this. But yeah, this is very like dark academia, fantasy. I don't know, I really like it. A little bit of horror elements. It's really good. I enjoyed it. 3 stars. Next I read One of Us is Lying. This is by Karen M. McManus. This I have had on my TBR shelf for like so long. And it's YA thriller, and I don't know why I never picked it up. I think for a while there, I kept thinking that other people were giving it bad reviews, so I was like hesitant to pick it up. But then when I looked at the Goodreads reviews, everyone that I follow, it all has amazing reviews. So I was like, why have I been putting this off for so long? I ended up giving this one a 3 stars as well. This was good. I had a really fun time with this. There is also a Peacock show, which I did watch the first episode of after finishing this because I was intrigued. Probably would have finished the show if I hadn't have read the book, but anyways. So in this, you're following 4 different characters. You do get 4 points of view, but I don't feel like it's hard. Like, I feel like it's really easy to follow all 4 of them. It's very Breakfast Club-esque. They all get detention, as well as a 5th person named Simon. Now, Simon runs this like gossip website, kind of like a Tumblr almost. Oh my god, do y'all remember Tumblr? About all the gossip going on in the high school. So he's kind of an outcast. Everyone's just like, ugh. But they all get detention for the same reason. And in this detention, Simon ends up having an allergic reaction and dying. And one of them is being blamed for it. And, well, they're all being blamed for it, but one of them is obviously lying, as is the title. So it's very Breakfast Club-esque. There's like a popular girl, there's a nerdy girl, there's like a druggy dude, and there's a jock. And we're following all 4 of them as their secrets are basically coming to light. Everyone believes one of them did it, including the police, because a post was about to go live featuring all 4 of them, something on their gossip page. So we follow kind of along as we discover the secrets of these guys and discover what's happening. And the plot twist, I think, at the end really got me. I know it didn't get a lot of people, but it wasn't at all what I expected. So I did enjoy that. This is a trilogy. I don't think I'm going to continue with this trilogy. I think the first one is perfectly fine and fun if you want to test and see if you like it. I think it's a good time. And it reads really, really quick. Like I said, it's a YA thriller, so it reads very quickly, and especially the 4 different points of view, you're constantly moving. So 3 stars. It was okay. But not least, in January, I read Onyx Storm by Rebecca Yarros, the 3rd book in the 4th Wing series. Getting it out of the way now, I gave it 3 stars. I was really excited for this book, and I think I'm just getting frustrated with this series. I think 4th Wing, the 1st book, is amazing. I think that book was so fun, and I had such a great time with it. And then I read Iron Flame, and I was just not into it. I just was not vibing with it. It actually put me in a terrible reading slump. Like, I was just not into it. But I was excited for Onyx Storm, and it was fine. There were parts, so I'm gonna say the same things that everybody else said. First 150 pages, we're getting names, dragons' names, places, their powers, all these different words thrown at us that I personally feel like Rebecca Yarros thought we should be knowing. I was so confused, and I just moved on past it. And then we get to this point where we're traveling, and I really liked that. I thought that was really fun and different. I also will say the ending, it's a cliffhanger ending just like the other 2 books. I'm kind of getting sick of the cliffhanger endings in a fantasy book. I think that's a little bit ridiculous, especially because now we're probably gonna have to wait a couple of years for the next book. But I just feel like there was a point in this book where, if you've read this, maybe you know where I'm referring to, where they could have ended it and I would have been super happy. Like, it was perfectly fine, content with that ending, happy with the trilogy, because I think this was originally supposed to be a trilogy, but then it just kept going, and then again we got that cliffhanger. So I think it is going to be I think they said a 5-book series now. I'm going to continue reading it, but I'm just so frustrated because I felt like 4th Wing was so great, and then the past 2 books have just been, I just don't understand, and I hate that. I hate not understanding. Usually in a fantasy book, yes, there's a bit where you don't understand. Take, for instance, Hellbent. But then it all clicks, and then you're just like, okay, cool. I know exactly what's happening. I just don't feel like I understood what was happening. I just don't. And it was fine, but it was just a 3-star. And, like, there's the thing. There's 3 stars that are, like, good and I recommend, and then there's 3 stars where I'm like, it was a book that I read that I liked at some points, but I don't recommend. I recommend you read 4th Wing and then decide for yourself if you want to put yourself through Iron Flame and Onyx Storm. Those were the 6 books that I read in January. If you've read any of these, let me know your thoughts, and definitely check out the reading vlog featuring these 2 down below if you haven't checked it out already. I hope you guys enjoyed. Go ahead and subscribe if you're not already, and I'll see you all in my next one. Bye guys.